question about whether we ship on Blu-ray on PC, I would leave really completely up to EA, to our publishing partner on there. It won't make any difference for us where we would expect that on PCs everybody would install completely to the hard drive. I doubt we would have an option to even run it from the DVD, although, again, that's a decision that wouldn't be finalized until next year. The PC systems will have much more power than a hardware, than a console system on there, although we're obviously back further away from the low-level aspects of it. But you expect people are going to have incredibly massive hard drives, and they'll probably just copy everything over directly and have it stream really nicely from the internal hard drive. Most of the animation that we're doing in Rage now is motion capture. We have our own motion capture studio set up where we've been collecting a lot of data, and we have some people that are pretty specialized animators for working with all of that. So it's one of the big differences from our previous stuff is we have generally human anatomy in Rage. They use common skeletons. We're able to get a lot of reuse, where in Doom 3, even the monsters that were generally humanoid, they were all distended enough that we couldn't share much between it. And that's been one of the big process improvements that we've done this generation. The idea of generative textures, generative media in general, is something that is almost 180 degrees opposed to the directions that we're pursuing. And it's one of those things where if you've been around for a while, you've heard that procedural textures are the big thing this generation. We've been hearing that for 15 years. Every time a new graphics card with not as much memory as you'd like comes out, they say, oh, but we've got lots of processing power. You can generate these things. And I have very specific technical objections to that direction. Yeah, any given technique can have a place where it's the right thing to do. But in general, for the types of games that people are doing today, AAA, media-rich, big-budget titles, there's a set of data which is what you want to project on there, and the idea that we're pursuing is that you make exactly what you want and then you apply general purpose compression methods. You know, we generate 100 gigabyte mega textures and then we compress them down to 1 gigabyte or so. The alternate approach is to say, we are going to make these rules for designing these things, and then we're going to have some smart, clever algorithm that will amplify the data that we put in. And it's a valid direction, and for certain things it can work well, but the question of decimating down versus amplifying up, I think that historically, decimating down has been proven correct over and over again. I was just out at the EA conference recently at E3, and I got to chat with Will Wright about various things and looking at the Spore demos, and I was really kind of concerned about Spore early on, where it seemed like a little far out, a little more of a wacky idea that wouldn't have the same appeal that The Sims had. I mean, as always, I pull for big successes there. I mean, I really hope that he can go out and follow up the legendary success of The Sims with something that had a lot of people questioning whether it would be possible to have something like this work out well. I'd love to see it be a big success like that, even though it would be the great counter-argument to my point about being anti-procedural on there. But still, even if that does turn out to be a great thing there, it's a game built around the idea of generation, and it doesn't mean that it's necessarily applicable to other, more conventional titles.